Welcome to the Solo Grind, where we shine a light on the raw and real journey of being a solo entrepreneur. I am Teresa, your guide on this adventure of going it alone, without a safety net and without the rule book. The grind is real, my friend, and so are the wins, the freedom, and the joy of building success on your own terms. I'm here to debunk the myths, share some laughs, and share what it takes to thrive as a go-getter, busy, doing it all entrepreneur. Welcome back to the Solo Grind. I am so excited for today's episode because today, here with me in the studio, is a very special guest, Robyn White with RDW Design Studio. Robyn is an incredible web designer and SEO expert, and she is the owner and founder of RDW Design Studio, a strategy-first design studio known for its sophisticated approach to website design. She offers design and search solutions for interior designers so they can transform how their visitors engage with their website and step into their next level of success. And let me just tell you, her work is absolutely fabulous. One of the fun things about today's episode is that on paper, Robyn and I are technically competitors. We have even bid on some of the same projects in the past, but the truth is we don't see it that way. Instead of competition, we have built an amazing friendship and a supportive professional relationship. Today, we're diving into the topic of creating an experience with your website. And this is something that Robyn and I are both very passionate about. Whether you're designing a website for your business or looking for ways to elevate your online presence, this episode is packed with tips to help you stand out and make your website shine. So, Robyn, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the Solo Grind.
You, Teresa. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah. And as I said, there was a couple reasons. We chatted a little bit before we recorded. There's two reasons why I wanted to invite you to be a guest here. First of all, because I love your expertise and knowledge. You're honestly one of my go-to people when it comes to advice and things like that. And I love that we're able to share openly and honestly with each other. But the other reason, which is kind of a little sneaky hidden reason that I wanted to bring you on, is technically we're competitors. We've bid for the same jobs in the past. We both work with interior designers. You're exclusively interior designers. I work with people from all industries, service-based industries. I don't like doing e-commerce. So technically we are competitors, but we're not in competition with each other, in my opinion. And I know you feel the same.
I feel exactly the same way. And I think we were talking about this before, and I said community over competition. And it's
Absolutely.
so important. We're first and foremost friends, even though we met because of what we do, that we're both web designers. And yes, we have bid for the same jobs, but neither one of us views the other as competition. We're
No.
friends. We're a resource for each other. We reach out to each other with industry questions, things like that. And it is something that I am tremendously grateful for. It is something that I feel very lucky to have.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's interesting too. We've talked about this in the past. When we've bid for the same jobs, there's sometimes they go with you and sometimes they go with me. And it's
Hmm.
always the perfect fit. I love it when they
Yeah.
decide to go with you because I know they're not my dream client, but you are going to take really good care of them. Because even though they may not be the perfect ideal client for me, I still have some kind of a dream for their success. Like I still want to see them succeed. I still want to see them grow in their business. And I know that they're in really good hands when they decide to go with you because it's the perfect fit for them.
I feel exactly the same way. And it's interesting because while we're very good friends and we
Mhm.
have a little mastermind group that we're a part of, and
Yes,
we
yes.
get together every other week and chat about things. We have very different personalities and very different ways that we work with our clients. And
Yes.
I love the fact that someone can come to both of us and we can both bid for a job and they can tell which one of us is a better fit for them. And I'm always happy for them
Yeah.
too when they make that choice because it's the right choice for them and ultimately the right choice for us as well.
Absolutely. And you
Mm.
mentioned the mastermind. I'm glad you remembered to talk about that because again, it's that community over competition. This little
Mhm.
mastermind group that we have is two web designers and two
Yep.
copywriters.
Yep.
And we get together and share knowledge and share information and
Mhm.
share, experiences or whatever it is that comes up.
Mhm.
It's always very uplifting and it helps me realize that I'm not alone in this world, even though I am a solo entrepreneur.
Yes, that's absolutely it, that you're not alone. Because when you are a solo entrepreneur, and let's say most of us probably work out of a home office, so we're
Mhm.
by ourselves at our computer all day, and that community that our mastermind has fostered with the four of us, where it's something to look forward to. Granted, we're not in person because we're all over the country and in Canada as well, but we're face to face on Zoom or
Mhm.
Google Meet, whatever it is, and we're connecting, and we know we can reach out to each other. Like, you reached out to us earlier this week with a question that you had.
Yeah.
All of us responded, and
Yeah.
it's just something where so you don't feel as alone.
Yes.
And it's a great thing if you can foster that within your own industry community and have those friends as resources that you
Mhm.
can count on and depend on.
It is so powerful, so powerful.
Mhm.
And a few episodes ago, early on in the season, I talked about building a board of directors. Who is your board of
Mhm.
directors? Who are
Yeah.
people you can go to for advice in certain areas of your life? And you guys are definitely on my board when it comes
Mm.
to business and copy
Yeah.
and web design and SEO
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
You are part of my board. So thank you for being part of my board, even though you didn't know you were there.
And likewise, yes, exactly. And I love the idea of creating a board of directors. It's super important. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
powerful.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay. So now let's go ahead and dive into today's topic because you
yeah.
have such incredible knowledge and expertise. And I will say, like you said earlier, we have different approaches in how we work with our clients. But
Hmm.
one of the things that I love is the quality that both of us provide. Even though
Hmm.
we take different routes to get there, the experience that we create in our clients' websites, I think is powerful and evenly matched because I think you do amazing work. I've actually done audits on your website. So I do audits for a business coach, Nancy Ganzikoffer. She has me do audits for a lot of her clients. And I've had the opportunity to audit some of your websites. And it's funny because I'm like, well, of course, this is a fabulous website. I do a little video component with my audit, and I'm like, you have a Robyn website. I'm honestly probably not going to have much to tell you, but let me tell you what I think is working really well. And that's typically what the audit entails.
I
So
love
it's,
that.
yeah, it's fun that I've got a chance to see behind the scenes and
Hmm.
just to see how incredible the work you do. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to take today for you and I to kind of talk about how we create that experience on our
Hmm.
websites and how we work with our clients to create an experience because a website's not just a billboard where you shout out information. It is it's not just, and I'm looking at my notes here, but it's not just clever graphics or eye-catching headings. I mean, it's a place to start building a relationship with your future customers. And that's why you want to give them an experience and not just bombard them with information. And so we kind of have some ideas of or talking points, but I'm going to let you take the first one, and that's the ease of navigation, because that's one of the biggest things that we both look at and we're like, you have to fix the navigation first.
Yeah. And I love that you used the word experience, because I think something that sets both of us apart is that we really focus on the experience that we're providing to our clients when they work with us, but then also really stressing the user experience on the websites that we're designing for our
Mhm.
clients. And like you said, one of the most important things is that ease of navigation. So when we look at, just let's start with the main navigation menu at the
Mhm.
top of the website. Something that I always stress, and I know you do as well, is uh, being simple and clear, not cute and clever. And what I mean by that is first of all, everything doesn't have to go in that main menu.
No.
We don't want to bombard people with too much. Secondly, we want it to be really simple. So let's just take a blog, for example. Don't call it thoughts or journal or style diary. in the menu, call it blog,
Right.
use the conventional known term that
Hmm.
everybody knows. And then, if we're working with a creative business owner in a creative industry like interior design, yes, be creative and call it style diary on that page. Don't use that in the menu. You never want somebody to land on your website and question
Hmm.
where they need to go. Simple and clear.
Simple and clear. And that's a great example. I was struggling to come up with one, but I
Mhm.
love that example because style diary to me wouldn't grab my attention. If I'm
No.
looking for an interior designer and I went to that page, I would be expecting to see like mood boards or a link to
Mhm.
side door or something like that.
Yeah,
I
you would
would
never
not
think it's the blog.
I would never think it's the
Mm-mm.
blog. And when I got there and realized that I had to work and read, so I had to work for the
Mhm.
information and not just be given some style ideas,
Yeah.
it would turn me off and I would click back and I
Mhm.
wouldn't even go dig into the information. So I think that's a great example at being clear and concise
Yeah.
and always concise over clever or concise over
Yes.
cute. Clear
Yes.
over cute. I mean, people don't get that. There's some odd ones too for like testimonials that I've seen.
Mm.
I don't mind a little bit of change up on that. Client love, I think, is clear enough.
Yep.
Accolades, I have a client who uses accolades and I kind of liked that one.
Mhm.
Um, but there's some other ones that I saw for testimonials that really just didn't grab my attention at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And even contact, you can use connect, you can use inquire. Everybody still understands what that is.
Hmm.
I also prefer one word names in the menu whenever possible. So I
Hmm.
would rather see about in the menu rather than meet the team. Takes up less space. It's
Yes.
still very clear, and you can say meet the team on the page, but call it about in the menu. So it's not 3 words that I have to
3
read
words.
there.
And I was thinking the same thing with I've seen people use get in touch for contact,
Hmm.
which is clear, but
Yep.
again, it's 3 words. And
Yep.
the reason I like those one word navigations as well is when you start looking at responsiveness of the website and the different screen sizes. The thing that a lot of people don't realize, but you have to accept right now, your
Hmm.
website is going to look different on every screen size. That's part of the whole new world of that responsive design. And it's not really that new. But as the screen sizes shrink, that menu starts having, and now you risk having a two-line menu, which is very confusing and also
Yes.
often not very or operational or functional.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, I totally agree. One word whenever possible. I also prefer to keep that main menu. I like to see 5 or 6 max. I never go more than 7 because
Yeah.
supposedly the brain can't really even process when there's more than 7 different
It's
pages up there.
It is a lot. I have
Mhm.
one website where I broke that rule too, because
Mm.
it worked for that website and it's a
Yeah.
medical spa and they
Hmm.
have different types of treatments, like the facials and the
Yeah.
injectables and things like that. And so it categorized things and it made sense. It's a massive menu to
Hmm.
try and organize. And so for that it worked, but for the most part, I'm going to say yeah, we've got to
Yeah.
keep it clear and simple and concise. And that kind of leads to the next point that we talked about is the idea of strategically placing buttons throughout the site.
Yes.
This helps people dig a little bit deeper into your site in a way that's comfortable and easy and natural and organic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always like to call those buttons calls to action. I'm sure you
Yes.
do as well.
Yes.
And I actually like to see the homepage be almost a vertical menu of sorts, right? So um, it links from the different sections on the homepage to
Mhm.
the other main pages of the website. And that I find is really good for 2 things: user experience, so that the visitor, as they're going down the page, they can hop over to another page easily without going back up to the menu. But it also sets up an internal linking structure, which is really important for Google to follow for SEO. So they know what pages are important. That hierarchy comes from your
Mhm.
homepage.
I
Yeah.
often refer to the homepage as the table of contents. Like, think of it as
Yes.
the table of contents.
I
It's
love
like,
that.
here's the highlights of what you're going
Yeah.
to find in this website. And this is
Hmm.
slightly off topic, but still related because it's a question that I get a lot of times is as you're adding those strategic call to action buttons to the different pages, should you open in another tab each time?
Mm.
And I
What's your answer to that?
no. I
Right. That's what I
I
say.
was gonna say if you're taking if you're going off the site, let's say you have a
Mhm.
YouTube channel that's very active and you want to take people to your YouTube channel from your homepage, your table of
Yeah.
contents page, absolutely open it in a new tab because you're
Mhm.
losing connection with the site. But
Yep.
if you're going to a new page in your own site, don't open in multiple tabs because what
No.
happens is now I have 20 tabs. And when I look at my browser and I've got not 20, but 10 or whatever, if
Yeah.
I'm more than 7 tabs on my browser window, I'm overwhelmed and I'm feeling anxiety. I'm feeling
Yeah.
anxious. Whether I know where it's coming from or not, I am not feeling comfortable. And it takes away from the experience of looking at that website.
Yes, it does. I agree 100% with you. An external link, definitely open in a new tab, and an
Yeah,
internal link should stay same
always,
tab. Yep.
always.
Absolutely. That's a no-brainer. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
question that I often get. I'll be honest. It is a common question that I hear either from people
Mhm.
who are in the Creative Vault or taking those free courses that I offer, or new clients that are getting their
Mhm.
really first professionally done website at the time. They're like, well, I want to open a new tab so they don't lose where they're at. But I'm like,
No.
no, you really don't because they're
Yeah.
ready to
Mhm.
move on. They're
Yep.
ready to transfer to the next page and to learn more about that.
Yeah. And
So.
those strategically placed buttons are so important in the sort of user journey of
Mhm.
the website visitor and making sure that you're I like to call it taking them on a journey from curiosity to conversion, because that's the whole
Yes.
point of your website is to get them to convert
Yeah.
whatever that conversion is for the website owner. Generally, it's going to be to contact them, place a phone call, book a call, fill out a form. So we want to gently, through these strategically placed buttons, guide them to learn enough, know, like, and trust us, and
Mhm.
then take the action we want them to take and convert.
It becomes
Yep.
a natural progression to the other
Hmm.
pages where it
Yep.
feels easy and comfortable, and you just naturally are guiding them to
Hmm.
the next stage of your website, to the next
Yes.
page of your website to
Yes.
discover and learn more about what you have to offer. And that's
Yes.
exactly what we
Yeah.
want to do.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure when you do those audits, because I see this a lot when I do my own audits, is
Mhm.
there's no primary call to action on the entire website. And that's a huge, I'll call it a huge miss. It's a huge
Yeah.
missed opportunity.
Hmm.
And I see that a lot when people DIY their own websites because they don't know about a primary call to action.
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
don't know about strategic website design the way a professional website designer like you and I would,
Right.
where that's going to be one of the first questions we ask our clients. What's the main goal of your website? Right?
Yeah. What's the main thing that we want to
Yep.
accomplish? What do we want them
Yep.
to do? Do we want them
Hmm.
opting in? Do we want them
Yep.
booking a call? Like, what's the main
Hmm.
aspect? And like you said, yeah, I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just had a thought too that was coming through that
Yeah.
was clear, but it'll come back to me when you were talking because I love how you're sharing that, creating that journey, but also getting them in and digging deeper and going to the
Mhm.
next page and
Yeah.
ultimately accomplishing that goal. Oh, I remember what it was now.
Yeah.
Is how many times do we see we have the main navigation, it's done beautifully, it's perfect. And then we scroll down the page and there's no natural progression to go anywhere else within the website.
Right.
And that's kind of part of what we're talking about with what's the main goal that you're wanting to
Yeah.
accomplish. You're wanting people to book a discovery call, or maybe you have an awesome lead magnet that leads to a discovery call that you want them to opt into. What is that main goal? And we need to drive people to that. And we need to position those call to action buttons so that they don't have to scroll back up and find
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
They've got to be right there when we've inspired them to take action. We need to give them an opportunity to take action.
Absolutely. And to that point, sometimes having a secondary navigation menu in the footer. can be very helpful. So when people, if you're lucky enough that they've gone all the way down to the bottom of the page,
Right.
there are navigation options in the footer and a to the top button, a little arrow they can click on. So if you
Mhm.
don't have a secondary menu in the footer, they can get back up to the top menu really quickly without
Yes.
scrolling. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all part of the user experience and just making things so easy for the visitor to get
Mhm.
the information they need. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely. All right, so I want to talk a little bit now about the balancing that creativity with functionality. Because you
Mm,
and I have seen this. We've seen some really heavily creative websites that look
mhm.
fun and stuff, but are hard to navigate.
Yeah.
And we've seen some highly functional websites that really aren't visually appealing. They're
Yes.
functional and they
Yes.
work, but they don't check the boxes of attracting. And in the, working with interior designers, visuals are so important, so
S-
incredibly important. You have to inspire these people to start imagining working with you. And
mhm.
visuals are one of the biggest ways you're going to do that. So, talk to us a little bit about how you balance that creativity and that functionality and things.
Yeah, that's such a great question and such an important topic. And it's especially important when we're talking about interior designers, where their work and their visuals is so important. And a lot of them are going after a more premium client. So they want to have a certain aesthetic on their website. And
Mhm.
a couple of things that I would say that I've seen lately is that doesn't really work in terms of user experience and engaging content is when we have a font size. So the size of the words is too small.
Yes,
I see that a lot,
a
and
lot.
that's really bad. When you the whole point is to allow people to be able to read your content to get to know you. Having that content also be not enough contrast between the words and the background that it's
Mhm.
on. So something as simple as a white background with a light gray color text, that's going to be very difficult to read.
Mhm.
Um, so again, that is providing a very poor user experience. And while visually somebody might have decided that it looks pretty, we can't sacrifice user experience for pretty, because many people will just bounce right off because they can't read what you're
Oh,
trying to say.
first thing, yeah, absolutely. If
Yeah.
I have to struggle to read what's on a web page, I'm gonna go back to my search engine and see what else is
Hmm.
available,
Yep.
hands down.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you might want to speak more about the photos here. So I'm sorry if I went off topic
No,
with
no,
the
this is
fonts,
perfect.
but showing the images of your work is so important. And the I would say the most important thing is professional photography. And I know some newer designers are going to be like, I can't afford that. You really want to make sure that when you're pricing out your
Mhm.
projects that you're including padding there to allow for the professional photography, and you want to get
Absolutely.
it sooner rather than later. Your web designer is going to need it. They're going to ask for it. It's going to be very difficult for
Mhm.
us to design a strategic and a beautiful website for you without that professional photography. And I'll give one example. If we want to use an image that's full screen size, so going from edge to edge, and you took something on your phone and the image size is, let's say, 900 pixels across, I can't use that as a full screen image. It's going to be blurry.
It's just not gonna work. And
Yep.
absolutely, I know that a lot of times new designers especially, and
Hmm.
that's a big part of my target market is the newer
Hmm.
designers.
Yeah.
They are like, "Well, I'll get professional photography once I'm established, once I'm"
Yeah.
no, get it right
Mm-mm.
now. That is one of the best investments that you can get in your movie.
Yeah.
I would say invest in professional photography before you look at Google ads or Facebook ads or any of that kind of silly stuff. Professional photography should be one of the first investments that you do. And like you said, pad that, build that into the cost of the job. But I would also add, if you're a newbie designer, not all jobs are your dream. And so be strategic. If you really want to be careful at your overhead and things like that, maybe you don't pay for photography or photographing a project because it's not something you want to attract in the future. I recommend that you build your website almost, so I've talked about the table of contents, but I also say build it as a vision board. Here's what I want to create. Here's what I want to attract. Here is who I want to talk to. And every visual should speak to who you want to attract. So you're going to have jobs that you do because you're getting started and it's good experience and it's money and there's value in it. You don't have to put that on your website though,
I
because
love
it's,
that, Teresa. I love the vision board
yeah,
analogy. And I always say we want your visuals, so the photos of your work that we're using, we want those to be A, your best work, and B, what you want to attract more of and who you want to work with. So
yeah,
if all of your work has been children's playrooms and nurseries, but you want to work with bachelors in their 20s, we've got a big disconnect then between your visuals and who your target audience is. So, yeah, you want to put in there what you want more of
hmm.
and
And I
what will
will
attract
say,
who you want to work with.
absolutely. And I will say in this instance, this is where utilizing stock imagery for a
Hmm.
little while is a great idea. I actually have
Yeah.
a client, she's well established. She's been in the industry for years. She does commercial design
Mm.
and she has privacy agreements with most of her clients. So
Yeah.
she can't share her work
Hmm.
because of the offices that she does. Her website is entirely stock images.
Yeah.
Every stock image was selected strategically. We didn't just go to Unsplash and find what was free. We paid for good stock images that represented her style, her aesthetic, her focus. She's very much focused on the health of the office place and, designing things that is going to support employee retention and health and wellness and all of that, along with productivity. She strategically selected stock images. So it's
Yeah.
okay to start with stock images.
For sure.
But you've
For
got to
sure.
have a plan to
Yeah.
get your work out there because your work is what is really going to speak for you.
Absolutely. I'm all for stock images as long as you're not representing them as your work in your portfolio.
Hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yep.
And I have
Yep.
seen that. I've done a few audits where someone was
Hmm.
using stock images in their portfolio, and
Yes.
that's not okay. Don't do
No.
that. You
No.
don't have to have a portfolio right off the bat. That is a
No.
stage that you can add later on when you've got a portfolio that really is
Hmm.
going to speak to what you want to attract.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, that professional photography, like you said, that is an investment that I would recommend as well that you're making before you're doing any type of like paid advertising on social media or Google, or
Absolutely.
you don't want to be uh, investing in driving traffic to your website if your website isn't equipped to convert that traffic.
Yes. I like that. Tell us more about that because my listeners maybe aren't quite sure what we mean by that.
Yeah. So you can spend money on organic search, on SEO, on, social media advertising, on Google advertising, and you can get eyes on your website, thousands of visitors a month. But if your user experience on your website and the design of your website and the messaging on your website aren't all working together to again take those visitors on a journey from curiosity to conversion, you have just wasted all of that money because they're just going to land there, not feel like it's the right place for them, and bounce right off. So
Absolutely.
you first have to invest in the experience on your
Mhm.
website and make sure that's working well. And then you can take the next step and invest in actually driving traffic,
Mhm.
paid traffic to it.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. And
Yep.
just going to share a little tip. I've shared this in other avenues before, but especially for the people who are the solo entrepreneurs that are doing a lot of this yourself, even if you've hired a web designer to do this, I recommend that you audit your own website as a
Mm,
visitor. And honestly, what I tell you, don't sit down at your normal desk where you do all of your admin work and
mhm.
dive in and look at your website because you're in work mode and you're thinking about business. You're thinking about being the CEO, the all the things behind it, the creative genius and all of that. I suggest that you take yourself on a business date, go to a fun coffee shop or a cafe outdoors or someplace different. Take your iPad or a laptop that's not your normal everyday business and take yourself on a business date and go look at your website from the viewpoint of a visitor
I love
and
that, Teresa.
see, does this feel easy? Does this feel comfortable? Am I able to click on contact when I like feel inspired to contact? Like
Mhm.
use that and just go through the website to feel what the experience is. But it doesn't work if you do it in your office. I'm just going to say that right now. It doesn't work. So take yourself on a business date. Go to a lovely cafe, a good place for lunch, a fancy coffee shop, wherever you feel good, a wine bar. It doesn't matter, and use that website as a visitor. That is going to be one of the best indications to you if it is appealing to your dream client because you are the one who resonates with them.
Yep, that is such a good tip, Teresa. I absolutely love that. And just to add on to that, we should all, as business owners, be
Mhm.
looking at our website periodically
Yes.
and making adjustments. I like to view websites as I call them living, breathing creatures. They're
Me
not
too.
a set it and forget it type of thing. And as you grow and evolve, as your business grows and evolves,
Mhm.
um, things change and those changes need to be reflected on your website as well. So, you might start out in the beginning with offering, oh, I don't know, let's say paint consultations, designer for a day, and full service interior design. And then 2 years in, you may decide you only want to do full service. So we need to remove those other services from your
Yes.
website. And then probably your ideal client has changed. And that means that the words, the messaging needs to
Mhm.
be tweaked so that it's speaking directly to them. And this is all a good thing when we grow and evolve and we need to change things on our website. We don't know what we don't know when we first start,
Right.
and I always view it as a positive thing when I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I need to change the messaging on my website.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
funny because we were just talking about the messaging on my own website
Hmm.
right before we started recording because some things have shifted and changed in my own business and some things
Hmm.
that I thought directions I wanted to go really weren't. Like I started going that direction. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not
Hmm.
where I want to be. And
Yep.
so again, like our websites are always evolving. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been doing this for, over 10 years and yet
Hmm.
I'm still constantly tweaking and evolving because
Yeah.
my focus in business, my dream customers, all of those
Yep.
things, they evolve along with the growth that we have. So it's important to, yes, visit your website periodically and ask yourself, does this still feel real to me? Does this still feel true to who I am? Because if
Yeah.
it doesn't, you're not going to attract the people that you want to work with.
That's it. That's key. That's
Mhm.
key. Yep. It has to be authentic to you. It has to represent you. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, it's a good thing. And like we were talking about before, this is one of the great benefits of being a solo entrepreneur
Mhm.
is you get to decide when you're ready to make that change and if it feels good to you. And
Yeah.
you get to then go do it, you
You
know?
get to pivot whenever it
Hmm.
feels right. You
Yep.
take that's the next best step ahead of you.
Hmm.
You get to decide what that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And
Absolutely.
that's worth gold to me. So
Oh my gosh, that's worth so much more than anything. Yes, absolutely.
yes.
All
Yeah.
right, well, great, Robyn. Is there anything else that you would want to share with our audience here today that you think is just really powerful and important to think about?
So, one little thing that I'll say about user experience that we didn't touch on is white space.
Mm,
I think that is so very important. And what I mean by white space is it doesn't have to be white, but it's making sure there's enough, call it margin and padding around
mhm.
the different components of your website so that things aren't all smushed together and
Yes.
they're separated. And what that does is it gives us time for our eyes to rest and for us to just take a breath. So many times I'll see section smushed into the next section or a button smushed into the text above it. And that white space, that
Mhm.
breathing room around the elements is very important in the
Mhm.
experience your website's providing.
I call it the pause between that allows
Yes.
people to digest the information you're sharing. And
Hmm.
that smushed thing, I call it, it's kind to me, it's kind of like watching a news channel where you've got the ticker going through, scrolling through
Yes.
all the things, and it's
Hmm.
you feel bombarded with information,
Yes.
and it's almost just not almost, it is overwhelming, and you start
Hmm.
feeling a little anxious and uncomfortable. And so you want that pause. You want them
Hmm.
to digest and understand what you just shared in the previous section before they go to the next section,
Yes.
so that they have this natural, easy, organic
Hmm.
progression through your
Yes.
website content.
Absolutely. And that word that you used, overwhelm, an overwhelmed buyer doesn't buy.
No,
They will just leave. And that's where that simplicity in design comes in as well. And yeah, it's just, it all ties together, doesn't it?
it so completely ties together. It's
Mhm.
beautiful. So, yes,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you, Robyn, so much for joining me. This was a great conversation. Tell my visitors a little bit more about you.
Oh, sure. So
Yeah.
I live on Cape Cod with my pug Jerry
Yeah.
and do web design full time. I do SEO as well, search
You
engine
are my SEO
optimization.
expert. I
Yep.
often refer
Yep.
people to you for SEO.
You
Yep.
do, and thank you. And can I tell them where they can find me, Teresa? Is that
Absolutely,
okay?
please. Yeah.
So I'm very active on Instagram, and my handle is RDW Design Studio. And I
Mhm.
follow back all interior designers who follow me. That's my ideal client. And my website is rdwdesignstudio.com if anybody wants to take a look there. But it has been such an honor being on this podcast with you, Teresa. Thank you for having me as a guest.
Thank you so much for joining me. And I can't wait for this episode to air because I think we've got a lot of great tidbits for my
Yeah.
audience to help them
Yeah.
take things to the next level in their business. All right, that is it for this week's episode of the Solo Grind. And thank you guys again for joining Robyn and I here today. I hope that we have shared some incredible website wisdom to help you take things to the next level. Be sure to join us next week where we are going to be talking about how to show up where your people, that means your ideal customers, are. And also, next week is episode 12. And as you remember in the beginning of this, I promised to do 12 episodes. And this, of course, includes the trailer because that's how I mapped out this season. So next week, we are going to be answering the question of should I stay or should I go? Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Grind. I hope this episode brought you some inspiration and encouragement. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and feel free to share. For more tips and insights, visit caffeinecreative.io to check out my blog or explore the Creative Vault, my free course library. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'd love to hear how this episode has helped you.